and welcome to the Pocket Gamer Podcast. It's episode number 532. He looks to the sky where all the information lives. My name's James Gilmore. Joining me today is Matthew Ford.
Hello, sir.
And I am, at the moment, floating in and out of the mobile gaming world, because I was technically on holiday, but I cannot abandon the podcast because I start to feel guilty. So,
Very noble.
I know, right? It's so selfless. I'm here to say, what's happening with the mobile? I know you don't really do news so much at the moment, Matthew, but you're focusing on features right now, right?
I am, that's right, yeah. So we had bits and pieces going up this week. One cool one was I got to speak to the developers of Dragalia Lost.
Oh, yeah. So I covered this when it first came out, and this was interesting because it was the first time Nintendo did a new IP on mobile, or specifically for mobile and mobile only. Everything else they brought over was, a Mario Kart game, or I was going to say Zelda, but it's not there, a Fire Emblem game, or based on existing property. Whereas Dragalia Lost was just created for mobile and mobile only. And felt quite slick at the time. What do they have to say about it? Is it still doing okay? Is it doing all right?
It's still doing pretty well, yeah. So it's a Nintendo published title. It's actually developed by Cygames. But considering what Nintendo have put out on mobile altogether, it's an original IP. When, as you mentioned, the likes of Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, it's their fourth highest grossing.
Really?
It's just near enough about to cross 150 million.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. It felt good when we first tried it, and people were sort of impressed. And it managed to do because it's a free to play one again. Managed to do it in a way that, at the time, felt like their free to play experiment, and it seems to be the one that's worked more so than maybe some of their other mobile releases, which for whatever reason haven't delivered quite the results that they necessarily wanted.
I definitely agree, especially across a critical and fan reception. Dragalia Lost definitely seems up there. Everybody just seems to very much think it's a great game overall, and so this was really interesting to speak to Cygames developers and find out the run up to launch, the aftermath, and the reception and all that, and what their thoughts of it were, and where they go from here.
Nice. Well, go and check it out on Biz if you fancy an interesting read. Of course, today we're going to be covering all the most recent news from the mobile land, and that includes all the new updatey things they've been doing with the Xbox app. Stream it to your phone, get some stuff on iOS, maybe, sort of. We'll show you how you can do it if you really want to. We've got some information about PUBG's inaugural EMEA League finals. We've got some stuff all about Uncharted and his new trainers in the movie, because Matt wants to talk about it for some reason. We've also got Fire Emblem, the first Fire Emblem game appearing in the West for the very first time, and of course it's coming to mobile because it's that's the platform. And new games out and about this week, including the likes of Far, Lone Sails, The Last Train, Final Ride, Space Frog Intern, and more. But first, the news, which I will jump straight in with. The saga of Xbox on iOS continues. This time, there's a little bit of movement, although not quite in the way that perhaps some people would like. Obviously, you can do your Game Pass Ultimate Remote Play streaming business over on Android if you've got one. You can't do it on iOS yet, but they have updated the iOS app to allow remote streaming from your Xbox console in your own house/flat/living accommodation, which is that's the way they get it on, because you could do this I think with the PlayStation app as well. That was able to do it last year, but it's their way of going yes, you're playing an Xbox game on an iOS device, but it's not going to the shop, it's just pushing what your Xbox in the other room is doing over here, so it doesn't really count.
So you're just mirroring it basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the way around it. Now, I tried that on the PlayStation, and it was a horrible experience, Matthew. I do not recommend it. I haven't tried this one with the Xbox, but I can't necessarily see, because it's not tapping directly into the cloud and doing the Game Pass thing. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of the optimizations that has now, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, have you ever done any of this? Like for example, you could do it with Steam for ages with the Steam Link. And have you done any of this remote streaming consoles onto other devices business?
I've done the Steam Link one. I did that with my cousin because he has a full, PC gaming rig and everything. So we've had to go with that. That was quite impressive. I thought it was, especially compared to the PlayStation one, which I've done myself, similar to you.
Right.
Not great, I think is the nicest way to put it. But yeah, Xbox again. I haven't tested this one, but from what I've read, early, reviews, if you call it that, people have not been impressed either yet. Like, I think it was fine, but it wasn't like amazing.
No, well, I can't comment, haven't played, but the problem you have with these things is optimization, which is when you're just pushing it straight from the console, all it's kind of doing is slapping an overlay over the top. In the case of the one I played most was God of War, the new God of War, and I've said before, it was just like horrible because trying to use all those controls on the screen, dreadful. However, if you currently use the Xbox Ultimate Pass Project X Cloud, blah, 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 streaming thing on Android, they have introduced touchscreen overlay controls for some of those games. This is something that Dave's been looking into, Dave Aubrey over on PUBG. He's got the full list, which we've got here, of games that have been updated to work. Some of them should work by default, but the ones we can confirm definitely are things like Minecraft Dungeons, Dead Cells, Guacamelee 2, Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, Killer Instinct, Streets of Rage 4, which is the one I booted up to have a go at because it's so good. And the thing that makes this interesting is, rather than it just being a default overlay where they slap everything on the top for every game and it's the same layout of buttons and the X and the Y and the yada yada, apparently, for a lot of games, they are context sensitive. So the overlays are actually tailored to the game specifically and will change depending on what you're doing in that game. So it appears that they're trying to make compensate in some way for the fact that this clearly is not the ideal way to play it, and just doing a one-to-one translation of the buttons doesn't really work for mobile.
No,
and it never has.
It's interesting seeing like games like Tell Me Why on that, because that's the Don't Nod one, if I remember right.
Right. Okay. Oh yes.
Because we had a few like games like that came to mobile a bit, like Telltale. They put a couple on, didn't they? Like, and those sort of things work quite well, especially like, I guess, touch controls, but you don't really need them to that extent, the story ones, because you can just like dialogue through them.
Like they work kind of fine on mobile anyway, or at least they were optimized. But again, it's all about the optimization process. It's all about like, right, you've got a touchscreen, how are you going to make that work? And so that's what a port is all about. The danger when you're dealing with something that's not a port, you're just streaming it through to the console, is if you don't have a Bluetooth controller of some kind, it's going to be a horrible experience because it's not made for a flat piece of glass to control it.
And none of these experiences, the best way to play them are going to be streaming through with the touch controls at the end of the day. Like,
no,
you do want a proper controller. You do want to... Ideally, you want it on the big TV too. But even, mobiles are big enough these days, you can get a decent experience out of them. It's just, the controls do make a big difference to your overall experience.
Yeah, so I fired up Streets of Rage, and I can say it worked, but I guess in some ways that was an easy game to play because it is an old-fashioned retro arcade brawler, left, right, up, down, punchy, punchy, punch. I only played it for a couple of seconds because then I realised that both myself and Dave were trying to access the same account at the same time, and so I got kicked off. But he's the one who's done all the research into it, really, so you can go and see his article and just confirm the games. And there are more coming soon. The other thing you can do is you can customize these controls to within an inch of their life. So if there is a default overlay, you are able to zoom them all around the screen, mess about with it however you want. And again, Dave's got a little article up showing you how to do that. So at least they're making that acknowledgement, even though I will probably never use these controls ever.
No, I think that's fair to say. It will be for a niche audience.
Yeah. We're still in the dark as to whether they're ever going to be able to put the service properly, natively, onto iOS if Apple will allow it on the App Store. I think they, 2 weeks ago or something, Apple were like, we're definitely doing it. And Xbox were like, crickets. Sorry, no, other way around. This is what happens when you go off for a weekend. You forget who Microsoft and Xbox are. Yeah, so Microsoft said we're definitely doing it, and Apple went, are you though?
Is that Chris Hemsworth, Thor?
Yeah, I think that's already seeped into the pop culture enough that it's become its own thing. But no, they didn't say that. They were just silent. But that's what I heard in my head when they were saying it. So yes, you can go and play your Xbox in various different weird and slightly compromised ways on mobile. Meanwhile, native to actual mobile stuff, Switch in particular, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. This is, if I'm right in saying, because you filled me on this, is this the first ever Fire Emblem game or pair of games?
Yes.
Right. Okay. So this is coming to the West for the first time ever.
Ever.
And it's coming to Nintendo Switch. That's the platform it's arriving on.
It is, yeah. It was just randomly announced, I think, on a... What day are we on now? So Friday, I think it was yesterday. Just, Nintendo with their Twitter post where they just make a huge announcement. Because for a big group of people, especially Fire Emblem fans who have never been able to experience this in the West, it's a huge deal. And Nintendo have been doing this a little bit more recently. They've brought a couple others from the West. I think the only one that's still missing, which is massively going to reignite, is Mother 3.
Yes, yeah. I know the Mother 3 chat's been kicking around for ages.
And the meme and everything, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wondered if this was a Final Fantasy scenario because, like, in this case, the full game name is Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, right? Now, we know certain things about the game. For example, there was a remake that was done that appeared on the DS, which was just called Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. So you've kind of been able to play, a remake, but not the actual native original game, not just a straight port of it. And because this is a 30th anniversary, that's what they've gone for. You've probably played with the characters. Because,
oh yeah, funny that.
how about my deep lore there? Because Marth, innit? Marth's the character, right?
Marth is the one, and he was introduced to people like, well, everyone in the West, and me included, through Super Smash Bros. Melee on the GameCube.
The key to all knowledge and enlightenment, right?
Of course,
Smash Bros.
Yeah. Him and Roy were both in Melee, and obviously Marth is the protagonist of the first Fire Emblem, and then over time, I mean, Super Smash Bros. Is basically just Super Smash Bros. Fire Emblem today, the amount of Fire Emblem characters in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is obviously a big deal. An interesting caveat, though, which I don't know if you've seen, it's again a limited time release from Nintendo.
I saw something about it being online. So this is part of their digital series, like with that Mario 35 and all that, where you get, 6 months or something? And then
That's right, yeah. It's the end of their fiscal year. Everything's like, because it's 31st of March 2021, and they're just so focused on that at the minute. There is, however, a physical collector's edition you can purchase for $49.99. You can't get that in the UK though, so that sucks. But yeah, people in the US, etc., can pick that up. But the game itself will be $5.99, so it's very cheap. And with that, I don't see the point of making it limited.
I'm trying to find some screenshots online because a lot of it it looks like proper old school OG first Final Fantasy 8-bit business. It looks very
I get that.
But it's still a tactical game. Is it still that strategy light stuff that Fire Emblem is known for? Or
from my understanding, yes. I haven't got massive experience with the Fire Emblem series, and I know this, but it's obviously developed a lot and grown since the original. But yes, it does seem to take lots of inspiration from the earlier Final Fantasy games.
Bit
more tactical, as you say.
That's why I was curious, because Final Fantasy is straight JRPG business. But either way, I don't pretend to be an expert on this stuff, so you will be able to get that limited time, and it's going to be coming out on March the 31st. Is that the idea?
No, that's when it's coming out. Yes.
Oh, that's when it's. Wait a minute.
4th of December. That's when.
4th of December. There you go. All right then. And it will coincide with their 30th year anniversary on March 31st. Fair enough.
That makes sense, yeah. And it's going to have features like rewind, fast forward, and save states.
So they're releasing it as a VHS, is what you're saying?
Pretty much.
Cool. All right. We've got some PUBG news, if you're into the PUBG business. The EMEA League Finals, which are happening tomorrow. This is, as our man Stephen Gregsonwood says, features 16 teams fighting for a prize pool of £100,000, which actually seems quite modest compared to some tournaments I hear.
Today, yeah.
But it's still a big thing. It originally started out with 32 teams from Europe, Middle East, Africa. Now we're down to 16, and then they're going to fight that out. I assume they must be able to. They'll be streaming some of this. It's going to be on. There you go. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. And you can watch that from 6 p.m. I guess there's more of a draw for me if you're watching. Either you watch streamers who are just daft and you enjoy their company.
Yes, personalities, yeah.
But in terms of watching the pro stuff, I mean, I guess this dovetails back into Smash for you, but because you've been involved with the competitive scene, do you enjoy watching competitive gaming from other quarters? I'm sure you watch some Smash stuff here and there, but do you watch any other big competitive stuff, or is it still not for you something that you're drawn to?
I've dipped in and out. Rocket League for one, I find really interesting to watch. You know, it's like a completely different game, isn't it? When you watch the top and playing it, like
that's what I mean. Seeing the actual pros doing it.
Because with Rocket League, you know, the amount of airtime people have and people can do with that, you know, it's amazing to watch. Apart from that, not really. I think the odd Nintendo one I'll jump into, obviously Smash, but yeah, I'm always like, I'd rather be playing games than watching them. It's just never been for me, really.
Fair enough. Well, you can go and tune into that. It's going to be 6 o'clock in the evening, so 6 o'clock GMT plus 3, between the 22nd and the 25th of October. So we've already had one day of it, but it's going to be running over the weekend as well. So you can go have a peek if you want to see some like legit good people doing the PUBG business. Also, Dead Cells has got an update coming to the mobile version, which brings it up to the level of the PC and the console version at the moment. So they're on version 1.6, I think. And that's now going to be the case with the mobile version too, which is kind of funny because we were just looking at the Xbox streaming services, right? The Ultimate Pass, and you can stream Dead Cells onto it. And Dead Cells is one of the games that's been optimized for the touch controls. So there are now two, not competing, but two complementary versions of Dead Cells that you can play on mobile, both with touch controls. One being pulled down from Microsoft with a different overlay, and one native to the system. It's a weird world now. It
is. I mean, more options the better, but
yeah,
there's clearly one that's going to be better than the other. Like,
yes, well that'd be the thing to test. I want to see what like the Xbox One plays like versus the native one on here with the optimized touch controls specifically for mobile. But they claim theirs is optimized as well. Battle of the optimizations, bit weird, bit of a strange conflict there. But either way, the update gives you the Boss Cell 5, which is a new tier of cells, increases difficulties overall. Plus, you get a new biome called the Cavern, which throws in a bunch of new enemies. A big dude called the Ground Shaker. The Crow-like Slammers, says Ollie Smith. And the Arbiters, which are big, horrible things that look like hands. Very creepy. And you get some new weapons as well. The Giant Killer, Magic Missiles, War Javelins. You know all this if you've been playing it on console. But either way, you can go and check out all the information there. And apparently... the PC and console versions are going to be getting the Legacy update, right? This is part one of their Next Step initiative. And that's going to be coming in 2021 with the Bad Seed DLC. And I assume all that stuff's going to be finding its way over to mobile as well. They seem to be, even though there's a bit of a lag, they seem to be sort of, keeping it up to date gradually. So that's kind of good to do. And I like seeing that the mobile games are now getting treated much more like, an equal port.
Yes.
With the other platforms. Which I suppose leads us on to this is something where, like, in the same way I never expected the New Mutants to actually come out as a finished movie, seeing a picture of Tom Holland as Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie that is actually filming, after they had about 13 different directors that they've cycled through over the course of years and years and years. And I really thought this was going to be this is never going to happen, and nor should it really. Who cares? But it's happened. There's a picture out there of Tom Holland. He's got the top, and he's got the loose khaki trousers, and he's got the little necklace with the ring on it.
No half tucked in shirt though.
No,
like, unwatchable.
That'll be the bit. I think Burns tweeted this out where like that'll be the end of the film. He'll tuck one half of the shirt in, and all the fanboys will scream, and he'll walk away to the sunset, and that'll be the film. This is very tangentially linked because there was, and this is a good way to go. We did a video on it. There was an Uncharted mobile game, an actual game made for it called Treasure Hunters,
Fortune Hunters.
Fortune Hunters. There you go. Yeah. I made it and I can't remember.
And Uncharted Golden Abyss on PlayStation Vita
as well. Yeah. So there have been Uncharted games on mobile, but I did a 5 reasons Uncharted Fortune Hunter is better than Uncharted 4, which was obviously a joke that people watched the first 10 seconds of and then got very cross about because they thought I was being serious. So people were obviously immediately jumping on to be Nathan Fillion should have been playing this because he's the one everyone wanted. But go on then. What do you think of Holland as a Drake boy? As
a Drake boy, yes, I am a big Uncharted fan. I do have an Uncharted tattoo, so that's where.
So when you say that, what's the tattoo? Is it the little loading screen spinning coin or something? What have you got?
I've got Sic Parvis Magna. around the coin from Uncharted 4.
Oh, you have got the coin. Okay.
Yes, I have. So I got it a few years ago now. But yeah, it was when Uncharted 4 came out and everything. So yeah,
there's a little Uncharted Easter egg in Last of Us 2, which I just played through. You find?
Yes, the actual coin. Yes, I've seen that before. Yeah, that's cool.
So
yeah, when Tom Holland was announced, it was obviously not what anybody wanted. Nathan Fillion was great, and we've seen there is a short on YouTube that he made, which is fantastic. He's unfortunately just a bit too old now. I think that's the issue for a long-term Hollywood franchise.
And I think Hollywood would drag you. Like, I can see him being like, right, Nathan, you need to get in the gym. It's one of those things. So they want young and youthful and skinny and athletic and all of that. So that's why they've gone with Spider-Man himself.
Exactly, and I actually thought he looked fantastic in that shot.
It's all right, isn't it?
It's very good. It's I was sort of in from that Uncharted, that Uncharted 3 replicant shot they've released there. I thought it looked really good, and Tom Holland is a fantastic actor at the end of the day. My concern is that Mark Wahlberg is playing Sully, and that is horrendous.
I hate Wahlberg. I will be on record as he's a multi-billionaire. He doesn't care what I think, but no, he's like one of the best. He's the highest earning actor, and
he's not a great person either. If you look into his
no, he's got a past.
Yes,
let's say, but mostly it's just him, and I just can't get. I know there are other people who do it as well, but that Boston accent with him in the Transformers movie, that's what it makes me laugh. So some kind of Transformer. Oh, shut up, Mark.
Yeah,
but I don't like any of his films. It's not my jam. Apart from Boogie Nights, which is the only good film he's ever done, and he disowned it. He went out being like, God would not have liked me to make that film. I was like, mate, that's like you're in a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. That's the only good thing you've ever done. And you're like, oh no, God wouldn't like me doing this. Generic cop film number 54B, where you run around plugging everybody in the face. God's all on board with that, apparently. But
is that and him when getting high with the talking bear?
Yeah, God's sake.
That's
but it. No, I certainly do not see him in any way as Sully, because you want Sully to be gruff voice, and you want grey, you want moustache and cigar and all that business.
Well, apparently Bryan Cranston was in talks at one point. I was like, that'd been so good. I know, but he's too old, obviously, to play off Tom Holland's really young, apparently, which I still don't think. The other thing was J.K. Simmons. I thought would have been fantastic.
I suppose the age problem there, but yes,
again,
when you want grizzled, old, stern dude, but he would have been really good, actually. The voice,
but the tangential thing, which is mad, as you mentioned. This film has been going on for years and years, and you can't actually believe it's actually coming. Mark Wahlberg was attached to star in this film originally as Nathan Drake.
Right. Okay.
And then because development's gone on so long, he's now aged that he's actually playing Sully,
playing the metaphorical father figure instead. Wow. Damn.
But and Nolan North was on set, which was very cool. The actual voice actor of Nathan Drake. So I imagine he will pop up in a cameo somewhere.
Probably. No doubt he'll get his cameo, get him in there, get Troy Baker in there, because they've been in everything else. They might as well.
I'll get very excited in the cinema for 5 minutes, so that's fine.
You'll flash your tattoo. Where is your tattoo?
It's just on my arm there.
Okay, fine. So you can flash it without getting thrown out of the cinema.
I can.
Good.
I'll just hold it up to the ceiling.
I look forward to it.
I hope it's good.
It won't be good, man. It'll be very bad. It's a video game movie, man. We've had this chat before. It's gonna be camera. It's going to be very bad. Sorry. Have you seen the Monster Hunter trailer? It's going to be very bad. So, out and about this week. Let's start off with something that I have been playing, which the name has escaped me. Lone Sales. That's why I couldn't remember, because it's got one of those silly colon names. This has been out on other platforms. I've seen this being played on PC, and it caught my eye when it first appeared, because this looks like my kind of sad, lonely jam. And it is. Have you seen anything about this, Matt?
I haven't.
Right. So I've played the first about 45 minutes of it, and not a great deal happens in that first 45 minutes. But that's kind of how I like it. So you initially start out playing a character who appears on the screen. It's an entirely side-scrolling thing. Lots of grey saturated colours, 2.5D dealio. Your character is red. And you emerge from a house and you scuttle right across the screen and you go through a house and grab a lantern. When you step inside the building, it does that thing where the walls disappear so you can see inside. And then you emerge on the other side and you're faced with this weird contraption, this big rolling ship thing So it looks like it should sail, like it should be a boat, but it looks also kind of steampunky or like a broken down land speeder from Star Wars. It looks like a whole bunch of different things.
Okay.
And you get inside that, and that goes cross-section as well, and it has like 2 or 3 stories on it, 3 floors you can jump around. And the idea is you need to get this thing moving. And so you're controlling your character rather than the actual ship, let's call it. And it's fascinating and slow and satisfying and a bit sad. And I'm really enjoying just getting the ship up and running to begin with is lovely, because there are boxes which you find inside the ship, and you realize after playing around, because there are 0 instructions, the ship has buttons scattered all over it. And I mean like big, like buttons the size of the person, the size of your little character. And they're like the big red push buttons, like emergency buttons that you see. And so you push it, and then you have to like push against it, and then by just walking, you don't press button, you don't press A. You just walk towards it or jump into it, and that pushes the button. So you're using your character to do it. And then you press the button and stand back, and it stays depressed for a bit. And then in some cases, it'll go psh, and undepress itself. It'll appear again. So you have to push it once more, like you're operating a hand dryer or something, and keep hitting the button to keep the air on. So you find out you need to put these boxes, which acts as food or other things that you find, fuel, I mean to say, into this little fuel suction thing. So you press a button and goes thump, and then sucks up in, and that powers up the engine. And then you run over there, and there's the engine button, and you push that, and lo, the ship starts to roll forwards. And then you realize that like you have to keep pushing onto it, because if you stand back, the button will stop being depressed and the ship will grind to a halt. There's also a brake button which you have to jump up to hit directly above it. So it's like platforming inside the ship to make it move.
That sounds
like
cool.
if you screw up your jump, you can't brake because you need to hit the handbrake button and hit it accurately. And there are loads of these other buttons in ship. There are winches out the front and back that will come in handy later on, and that you can climb up on top of the ship and like look out. And while the ship is moving, you can like zoom the camera in and out. And as you zoom back out, the ship becomes opaque again. You can no longer see inside. And it's just this ship rolling along the lower half of the screen through what is a sort of post-apocalyptic environment where you're like going across the ocean, but like the ocean's gone. And so the ship has a wheel on the side of it, and that's kind of what you're using to move. It goes through water from time to time, but mostly at the beginning you're just trundling along like sand, like the floor of the ocean. And in the back there are like wrecked ships on their side, so something clearly terribly bad's happened. And then you hit a point later on where you smash into like what is almost like a docking situation, and there is a sail above you, or there's like a kind of I guess like a crane, as if it were on the dock of a large docking port, and you climb up and you go over and you go inside that and press a button, and this huge sail manifold kind of attaches itself to the ship, and then you can go down there and hit another button, and the sails will open, and you can power yourself by wind as well as by fuel, because the fuel needs to be gathered. You need to keep stopping and jumping out the ship to gather bits and bobs to keep yourself going. And at the moment, the game is just get this ship working, keep it rolling, keep it moving. I'm not doing anything yet beyond that. And we're not getting into fights with other ships or anything. That's it. And that by itself, I'm finding really charming and is properly like engaging me and wanting to carry on and see what else the ship can do and see where else I can go.
It does sound like it's got a lot to it.
Well, I like this thing where you're controlling the ship, but you're not in direct control. You don't hold left or right to, it's not like a racer. You are just controlling your character. And you need to push around to keep the ship going. And the exploration of it, the discovery of it is what I'm enjoying at the moment. But I know it's going to have that very sad, gentle tone to it. It feels like that indie kind of game. I'm going to say right now, if you're into like action and fast-paced stuff, and don't play this, because you'll be bored witless probably within a second. But if this sounds like your thing, like a traveling game where you're gonna encounter, I know from seeing videos of it from last year, like you just end up trundling across like the relics of other civilizations, and you encounter things, and it gets more stuff happens later. But just the playing of it, it's very like methodical, and I don't know. There's something really lovely about it that I'm drawn to. I'm going to say it's almost certainly premium. It's Android and iOS if you want to get it, but Far::Lone Sails is the name of that. And I'm recommending it. So, what have you been playing? You're onto the final chapter of your Mario trilogy, aren't you?
I am, yes. Super Mario Galaxy.
So how does that play on the Switch? Without, I should say, because that's the game where, it was a lot of Wii waggling went on there, didn't it? Well, Wiimote business.
Yes, originally, yeah, it was obviously designed around the Wii remote and the nunchuck that you'd hook in.
That's right.
Yeah. So yes, it's been pretty much redesigned for the Switch Pro controller, which is how I've been playing it anyway. So how that works is you, obviously, at all times, you need to have I'm trying to think what it's called, the pointer, I guess, on the screen. So it's a little like star remote. This is what you do to move Mario about, like to collect stuff and everything like that. Yeah. So you actually use the R button, and what that does is it centers it, and from there you then just you tilt the actual Pro controller.
Oh, okay.
So the Pro controller replaces the Wii remote as like the sensor, but then every time you get it out of focus, just click R, goes straight back. And it works surprisingly really well. I've not had any issues whatsoever. I found it really useful, actually.
So when you say the Pro Controller, so this is that separate, not the two Joy-Cons, you haven't played it with those?
I haven't played it with Joy-Cons. I've just played it with Pro Controller.
So the Pro Controller can work in the same way like the DualShock 4 can, where it's got a motion, because that's got accelerometer business inside it as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's got a sensor on the top sort of thing. So have you ever played Super Mario Galaxy?
I have played Super Mario Galaxy.
Oh, very good.
It's very nice. I got a Wii pretty much exclusively to do that in the Metroid games. I played it. It's good. It's good. It's very good. It's
a very good game, and it holds up brilliantly.
I played it last year, the year before. I played it very recently, and it's great. It's fresh as hell.
Yeah, fantastic. It's one of my personal favorite games. It's arguably my favorite ever Mario game. I think it might be up there, and it still is. So for those that haven't played it, it is, if you've played the Mario 64 Sunshine, it is a 3D platformer, but Mario's in space, and that's the whole gimmick. And it's not a gimmick because it works fantastically, and it's the whole game. It's not like a one-off thing. So I always remember these moments as a kid. The first time, you jump off the side of the planet you're on, and then the whole camera just flips, and you keep going, and there's a whole underside, and it's such a cool feeling still to this day. So yes, I've been playing through this. I'm up to 90 stars now out of 120. Lots of fun. It's the similar story that we've heard over and over again. Of course, Peach gets kidnapped by Bowser.
I think everyone's familiar with this concept at this point.
Yes.
The thing I'm interested in is apart from that thing with the motion sensors, which obviously they've had to adjust, is it exactly the same apart from that? Because this is the problem people always said before with the other games was, for this little collection, this trilogy, they haven't really changed anything. There's been no upgrades, there's been no visual tweaks. Is it just literally the same thing? It's
literally the same thing, yeah.
Okay.
And which is, it is what it is. It's still an amazing game. It's still worth your time. Even if you played it before, it depends how much it resonated with you. I think this was the main game I wanted from this collection. Right. I've been making my way through them and building up to this, and it's just there's just such precision and clever platforming done in this that we've never seen before, and I still don't think it's been replicated to that extent. Galaxy 2 does expand some stuff, but I still don't think it does as well. You've got one of my particular favourite levels is Freeze Flame Galaxy. Where it's where hot meets cold. I think one of the levels is called within it, and it's you are Ice Mario and you're skating about, and then you go to another planet in there, and it's completely molten lava, and you're just playing off the elements together, and it's just such very, very clever. Yeah, love it.
Well, doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, sure.
Having actually played one, I can concur and say no, it's a brilliant game. So fair play. Again, that's sort of the tail end. Now you've made it to the end of that trilogy, at least.
I have, and as a whole, to wrap it up, it's brilliant to have all three of these games on Switch at the end of the day. That's never been what people haven't been happy about. It's about that there's nothing else with them apart from the soundtracks.
It's just bare bones.
Yes, exactly. These three games deserve more love and care than what Nintendo showed with them in this collection. And, it's only out again till March 31st, and then we'll probably get them released separately and all that.
Yes, that's what we predicted, isn't it? We'll see if that comes to pass or not.
We will. But, so obviously pick that up if you want it. I'd recommend.
They've already bought it. Everyone's already got it who wants it. So, something new and that's out for mobile. We've both played this for some reason. I don't know why. It's on the list. Spooky Squashers.
We're just in the mood for Halloween.
Apparently, yeah, I felt I could play something a little bit thematic because, yes, we're coming up to Halloween and Spooky Squashers. It's a kind of squash game, but it's got ghosts in it and you're a pumpkin. That's
What
the
more
angle.
could you ask for?
And my very quick summary of this is sort of very samey, nice ball contact.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, it's cool to see a squash game. Like,
Yeah, you don't see that too much.
You never see them. Yeah, I've never
There's
seen
plenty
one
of tennis and everything, but squash is the obvious one because it kind of it tits all those old classic OG 8-bit game things like Arkanoid and stuff like that, where actually it's, you want to be able to bounce off walls. In the case of this one, a ball spawns in the middle of a enclosed court, various different shapes, and you are the pumpkin with the squash racket, and ghosts start appearing. And the idea is you have to avoid the ghosts, because some of them can hurt you, while smashing this squash ball and using the squash ball to smash into the ghosts. Because as we all know, squash balls kill ghosts. So that's how the game is played. And every time that the ball hits a wall, it changes color. If the ball gets 3 rebounds, so it goes bop from green to orange, bop, red, and then bop. And then once it hits a third wall, boom, you lose a life. So you have to keep the ball in motion by constantly thwacking it before it does 3 rebounds. That's the way that it works. You constantly be chasing the ball, make sure you keep whacking it. And obviously, you're trying to whack it in a direction, well, it'll rebound off a load of ghosts and take them all off in one go. So that's kind of the angle. Bosses appear later on, great big ghosts. Some of them have got blades and stuff, and they start attacking you and can be well dangerous. Some of the ghosts you can just walk through, but purple ones start popping up and they get a bit aggro. The best thing about it for me is that impact, is when you go up and you just approach the ball, and you're not pressing attack or anything, you just approach it, and it does a thwack. And that thwack is a great feeling. It feels really solid, connects like hell, and that kind of stuff. We were talking about the way you treat death being an interesting game mechanic. Impact and collision is another really interesting aspect of game design, and it can flip a whole thing. When something feels good to do it, it makes all of the difference. There's an incredible ping pong game, which I'll have to dig out, that I did a video on, and has some of the best whap contact feel in a game. And this has got a great contact feel, I think. I'm not sure it has a great deal else.
No, I'd agree with you there. That feeling when you do hit the actual squash ball is good. It feels impactful. It feels like, you're actually making a difference and that sort of thing. The controls are a bit I found...
You didn't like the one just because it's just a one thumb move around?
Yeah, and it was more... I felt like you've got the zone at the bottom of your phone where you're supposed to keep it, but I kept finding myself, because of how it works, covering the actual...
the screen.
Yeah, screen and everything like that. So that was a little bit difficult. Yeah, and you basically just described what the game is in total. That's it, really. You just do this over and over again. Every time you get hit by a ghost as well, you lose a squash ball, and you only have so many squash balls to complete that said level. It doesn't seem to expand upon that much more the further you get into it.
You unlock squash rackets.
I was going to say, that's the only difference I can see. You get not even squash rackets either. There's all sorts. There's like baseball
objects.
bats.
Yeah.
And I think I saw one that's just like a wooden plank with a nail in it. That's
I got like a pickaxe.
Oh, lovely.
That I've been using. But the idea is just survive for as long as possible, waves appear and everything. It's a fun little... It's just a little time waster, that's all it is. But it's worth trying it's free, obviously, but that thwack, there's a lot to be learned from that. I like to try and find, even if the games aren't amazing, what's the thing it does well. This does that very well. It's a really nice feeling. And it makes you want to chase the ball and hit it because it just kind of feels good. You get that good impact sense.
The ads were, I thought, were a little... And it's one of those things, it's one that forces on you after you do a couple of games. It's like, here's a 30-second advert you have to watch. And it's like...
Yep.
That's the sort of thing that makes me turn off sometimes, when it just forces it on you like that.
Yeah, to be expected a little bit, unfortunately, but yes. Yeah. So that's out right now for free for your Halloween ball thwacking pleasure. Spooky Squashers is the name of that one. A few other things that appeared on our list this week. So The Last Train Final Ride. So this one, and I downloaded this and fired it up, and then I realized I was too late to actually play it. Black and white kind of grayscale, not point and click exactly, but you take control of a train that is driving around through the ruins of World War II. This is how it's explained. And you have to go around saving survivors. So it's like seems quite grim. So you're kind of driving from left to right and then coming across different stations, and then you encounter survivors, and then you can either try to return them to their family. That's one option. And the other one is to keep them. And then you turn them into like part of your crew running the train. And you wander through like the broken down America. It's sort of quite a grim looking thing. And almost, it doesn't look like Papers, Please in terms of its graphical style, but there are bits where, a lot of it's done through menus. So when a person appears, it's like, They pop up and they've got a little image of them, and then, hello, my name's Peter, I'm a loan shark, I did this and that. And that looks a little bit like, not, a little bit Papers, Pleasey, and I think it feels like kind of what they're going for, because it's being a bit grim. But The Last Train Final Ride's the name of that. Only played a couple of seconds of it, but that's currently on iOS only, and I believe it's premium. You'd have to double check on that. I've played a thing with a frog in it. Have you played anything else this week before I go frog mental?
No, go Frogman.
All right, fine, frog mental. So Space Frog Intern. Talking about old games. This is kind of a dressing up of Space Invaders a little bit, because you take control of a frog who is running around, gets abducted by aliens at the very beginning of the game, and then they employ him as some kind of like security frog, where he's designed to defend off aliens. And it follows that idea of Space Invaders, i.e. the frog is running along left and right across the bottom of the screen, and aliens are dropping from the top of the screen in different places, and you have to shoot them before they hit the ground. Once they hit the ground is a spaceship, so the aliens start munching through the spaceship, and you start to lose shield. So the idea is just to keep taking them out. The controls are where it differs. So you've got two controls, one of which is a jump button. Your frog is constantly in motion, so you can jump. And the other one is a fire button, and that's it. And firing stops the frog mid-run, and he immediately starts firing upwards. Pew, 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 pew. And then when you release the fire button, he changes direction. So that one tap, the screen is split into two, basically. One half is jump, one half is that. And so whenever you fire, you also turn around and keep running in the other direction. So it's about getting to grips with those two things and what you want to do with them. Because initially, you just start firing when you want to fire, and then when you release, you kind of forget, like, oh no, I'm going the other way. Damn, I have to recalculate. I have to tap it again in order to keep going the way I was going, because there's an alien all the way over there that I haven't got to yet. So it's getting to grips with that at first. It's quite natural, happens quite quickly when you start making that. And then the jump happens. The jump becomes useful where when they do hit the ground, when the aliens do finally reach your ship, if you haven't been quick enough, you can jump over them. And when you jump over them, he does a butt stomp. Your frog goes, pa, down onto their head. So that's the way to take them out if you haven't been able to shoot them out of the sky. What I found with this is it starts off and you can get a really good flow going, taking them out one by one as they drop, incrementally down from the screen. The moment a couple of them hit the ground, it's all over. It really is like, it snowballs into doom so quickly after that point, at least for me. I'd have to play longer, obviously, and I'm sure you develop coping mechanisms. But as soon as you get a couple on the ground, it's like, that's it, you're just doomed. There's no way the frog moves fast enough. You upgrade over time and you can increase your health and increase the frog's speed and things like that. And enemies do start appearing that require more than one shot to take them out. So that's where things start getting a bit trickier. You have to recognize them and make the adjustments. But it's just a little light, 16-bit looking thing. It's perfectly fine.
So there isn't much more to that story of the frog being kidnapped by aliens.
Story. No, the cutscene at the beginning has got 4 screens or something. It's just an excuse to call it Space Frog Intern. It's daft and it's light, and I actually don't know if it's free or not. I don't think I encountered an advert. iOS only at the minute, though. You can go and give that a look if you fancy. Is there anything else that came out this week? There's a game called Counter-Terrorist Agency that appeared on Dan's list that he's recommending, which is a kind of global simulation counter-terrorist thing with a bit of RTS thrown in. So you coordinate teams within it, collect intelligence, execute operations. And he compares it to things like This Is the Police or DEF CON, where you play a lot of things through an in-map view. Like that's how you play it. I've only seen the trailer, haven't played it myself, but Dan is recommending it this week. So that's iOS and Android, Counter-Terrorist Agency. I think that's kind of it, unless you have any exciting new releases I don't know.
No, that looks about it. I think that's everything out. Yeah.
That takes us to time. So thank you all for listening and watching this week. I will be back again because I'm bound to this podcast.
Chained.
By some weird spiritual connection, so I will inevitably be here, and hopefully Matthew will be joining us again as well. We're going to start getting some more people in. Obviously, Rick's departure, until he comes back again, inevitably, has meant that we're not doing quite so much rotation at the moment. But we'll also be hopefully bringing Danielle in as well, because she's taken at least temporary stewardship of PG Biz. So we're letting her find her feet over there, because she's already dealing with plenty, rather than me going, come and you haven't got anything to do, come over here. But we'll hopefully get her on board as well, and a few other people. But come and join us again next week for more chatter. Matthew, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.